Um. Well, in any case, all right. So, yeah. What did I do? So, I saw online. Uh, Kudos as an account. Woodfrog basically came up with a script that they applied to Mega Man X games that could show you the boss AI pattern as it was happening,
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
it was pretty cool. You would see basically like a clip of like the boss in the room, and then there's a range, and if you're standing in that range, there was three different attack options that it can roll through, and each has a
Does
percentage
it
of a
does it
chance of
show it in
happening.
like a in text or like a
In
visual?
text, it shows you
Okay.
the range in a box form, in like a hitbox form, almost, and then it shows you the options beneath in text of like, do attack A, 30%, attack B, 10%, attack, and and it kind of puts it all together, and then if you stand a little further back, it switches those options to a different configuration and a different series of options as well, and like you see
Mhm.
as you kind of you can break down exactly how the AI is working. And so I saw that and I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. That's interesting. And it reminded me that I was curious about and did buy Mega Man X Dive offline or Cross Dive offline. And I wanted to know how that conversion worked, because what basically was, it was a Mega Man gacha game that was
Team
what
says very positive.
yeah, out for mobile, and had of course all the gacha mechanics and things that you would expect to bilk your pocket. They made an offline version where you could just play and then unlock everything normally. The first thing I found out right off the bat was the Devil May Cry collaborations were not available
Are you fucking serious?
immediately. So because
Oh wow.
that's my point of interest was like, okay, I want to go. I feel like, let me go check out some Mega Man. This AI thing got me thinking about that, and let me see if I can go see what that Zero Virgil and Dante Mega Man thing were about. And yeah, you find out immediately that they were removed alongside Monster Hunter and a number of other collaborations. The next thing you find out when
Oh,
you
they own every property
They do.
together that you mentioned. Why bother removing them?
I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe there were collaborations that were not Capcom properties, and then they just said, fuck it, we're taking it all out. But whatever the case is, that sucked, right? So right off the
That's
bat, it's like,
stupid.
okay. Then you find out, scrolling down in your Google search, that Game Nexus has modded them back in. So
Oh yeah.
people are figuring out how to do that, and I think just the Devil May Cry ones right now, but not every aspect of them. But at the very least, just having them show up as on the character select list and having them playable does work, if not some of the other things. So you can mod your shit and do it. So I was like, okay. So then I go down a little bit of a rabbit hole of trying to figure out how that works, because to get that in, you have to install something that has a series of instructions that requires you install something that has a series of instructions that has you required to install something. And so you have to do, like, the mod container with the extra bits and the this and the libraries and that, and you da 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 da. And so you fuck around and get that going, and you install your Bepin X, which is a hilarious name for a mod manager, because it's called Bepin. but um yeah, I got them back in, and then I was like, all right, let's play this Mega Man game that is the only thing that the franchise was really gonna get anytime soon, because this is the state of Mega Man. There's
Yay.
a ton of characters that are just like, okay, every version of X you can imagine, every version of like
Right.
all of the Mega Man, like here's your Star Force, here's your EXE, here's your full armor from X1 and then from X2. So specifically, X1 has the version of the charge burst that does the big like arc behind him with the kind of dragon wave energy, but X2 has the Giga Crash. And you're like, oh
Right.
shit, I play. Yeah, those are the differences between them. That's cool. And it is, and like when you see a character select screen that is that big and has that much you can unlock, and this many weapons, though, I'm like, okay, well, I know it's gacha, so it's got to be about that variety, but there's no way that like they can actually feel distinct right? Because you don't they just like you the amount of effort it would take to actually make these characters play and feel like unique would be a lot. They've got to be shortcutting this, and that's kind of the through line here, which
Oh,
sucks.
great.
Is every character is kind of, in order to have this much variety, every character is kind of amalgamated into a Mega Man Omni type that is
So 35 different varieties of multi-grain toast.
so you get so you get like two shoulder button unique abilities that are like the things that are distinct to this character, but the way you kind of run around, jump, shoot, man stuff is basically a mixture of Zero, X, Axel, and Vile all in one. Because you have run, jump, shoot, dash, air dash, double jump, etc. And then you kind of by default have a ability to switch between a buster or a sword. So then you can just, if you want a Zero style with any version of the character, you kind of can. And you're also omnidirectional aiming, like Axel is able to aim in all directions. So you're doing that, and it adds a lock-on mechanic, which kind of makes it so that you don't really have to actually aim at anything. You just kind of run and hold, shoot, and So it's like,
It's funny because Vampire Survivors, I mean, we talked about it earlier, right? It kind of exposed the lie. Like, you're describing something that I also had happen to me when I was playing Honkai Star Rail, in which the goal is to have it kind of play itself.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, then it's like, it'll play itself. Now give me more money so it can play itself more. Whereas when I go play the Vampire Survivors or the Hollow Cure, it's like, why do I want it to play itself? So that my TV flashes more colors faster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It does feel like I mean, at least while the challenges are in the inviting you into the gacha world stage, you get this overpowered like run through and just blast everything in 2 seconds kind of feeling. Sure, you can disable the auto aim and all that stuff, but I feel like the way it's set up is kind of, the default character is meant to just run and hold button and kind of blast through the stage, and then eventually like things will come at you that have more HP, and then eventually those things will have so much HP that even with the lock on, it'll just kind of be like, well, the only way to get better here is to go and dump credits into make your buster stronger.
Sounds like you're literally describing one of those auto-scrolling zombie games where you shoot the balloons.
Sure, and then you're like, okay, so power up the buster level to fire stronger bullets or increase the rate of fire. Every time you beat a boss, you can customize. Like, there's a million little add-ons you can tweak. Like, a boss gives you a card that can make this weapon a little bit stronger by a percentage, but you can upgrade the card, or you can upgrade the base weapon. You can, and like you do a lot of these little number tweaking to kind of push your power level, which is like a number you can see that's to be strong enough to hit the recommended stage. But if it's underneath, then you can, again, I assume in the gacha version, pay more money for the ability to make your power strong enough to handle the stage. In this case, it's play more, but it is kind of interesting how it hits there's a 2-stage ramp up where you go from like being able to like kind of just run through a stage and clear it to like you get hit in one shot and die. and the reward behind that exact moment is Megaman X command mission scarf skin for Air X. So it's like it's very, very specifically designed to be like, you hit this wall and you're gonna want that reward. So you're like, maybe I'm just right there. It's very meticulous. And I feel as if between seeing that and then you kind of also see you see some stuff you want, right? And you see some fun ideas, and it's like, oh, here's Sigma as a Bancho. And he's got a bunch of wild specific things that like he's basically Jotaro posing or whatever. Here's some fun Mega Man X kind of like deep cut references and characters that were never playable being like playable and such. But it does kind of feel like, man, if this weren't just kind of going for gacha like as its game design, even if you take a gacha game out of the gacha world and put it into a place where you earn it step by step just by playing, it still has that shitty kind of onboarding ramp up thing to it. It still has so many currencies that you don't really understand how to acquire them. It doesn't fully explain them. It still
Yeah, it
has
actually takes a lot of work to turn that back into a real video game.
it does, right? It still has a menu that is essentially your joystick is moving a cursor around because it's a touchscreen that is not been updated to
Hey,
be.
can I fight someone at Bungie, like in the street, for inventing that fucking style of interface? Because Destiny
so
was the first
annoying,
game that did
man.
it.
And,
It was
and
Destiny 1 that was like, man, what if we didn't have to actually make interfaces? What if we just had the controller be the shittiest mouse cursor ever? Ooh,
and everything
people
that
will
pops
hate it.
up, yeah, and everything that pops up is a window, so like it has to be closed to get back to, so it's just like it's clunky when you're not touching it on on a touch device, um and and then so I'm like, the fastest way to do this is to actually have a mouse in one hand and have the controller over here and then use the mouse between missions and then do the missions themselves, right? Then it's like, all right, the game has to handle I guess loading stages into, it has to handle loading content into the game in a way that, I guess, whatever, like the assets, you probably can't have a giant insane stage size, so fine, some of the bigger, crazier, longer stages from other games that are not going to be there, but it cuts it up into, like, it takes any given stage you remember from Mega Man X and cuts it into like 3 screens, 4,
Lit.
and then
Cool.
ends, and then you pick up from the next one. But every time you do so, you also have, whatever. You have a waifu who shows up and she's all like, doing her waifu things to, be like, hey, go save the Mega Man member. And I'm just like, oh, man. Like, I guess I wanted to know. I'm like, could you salvage what is effectively a Mega Man game out of something that's introduced in modern gacha fucking stylings, and it seems like you can't unless you just completely remake it, because yeah, obviously 20xdx and 30xdx are like, the places to go if you want to get your like Mega Man-esque action in with new releases and shit, but I legitimately wanted to know, can it be done, and it's like, yeah, you have the ability here to, like, if you wanted to take all this bullshit out, make a straight Mega Man ass game, and like even make it so that when you pick Vile has his cannon and he has his shots, and you have the specific things that he does, which, like, when you played if anyone remembers the PSP game, when you got to play as Vile, yeah, it was like, each character there has like a different way that they play, but that's the fun of it. And it's not kind of just like Vile, X, Zero, and Axel are all kind of the same character, except their specific shoulder button abilities are different,
So, Wooly, you're completely right about everything you said, but in order to make it a thing instead of they would have to do more than just cut. Right? Like, you were describing a game that cut out the gacha, but then didn't replace it with anything. They just literally cut out the buy money part. Because that's fast and it's easy.
They cut out the buy money part. They put a mouse cursor where your touchpad would be, and they got rid of the collab events and kind of put the seasonal ones as like things you can optionally turn on yourself or whatever. But it's like, exactly,
we're done here, boys.
There were
above and beyond.
Yeah, it was a fucking absolute just like port job, in and out, and like, it's just a bummer because I'm like, oh, the ingredients, if you wanted to make something here, are there, but yeah, it would require more than just removal and replacement, and like, when you hit a stage that's like, okay, so you're not just buying the points to level up your strength or whatever, but you can go back and grind if you want to get that point. I was kind of just like, all right, I guess I felt it, I'm good, I'm done, you got, I went through the trouble of modding them back in too, the Dante and Virgil, and like, I don't know, I might go and see if I can just mod the currency to be like, hey, unlock these things already, because like,
right,
because the moment they were available, it's
now that's no longer a crime.
you then go and you're like, all right, click on them. How do I unlock X Dante? And then it's like you buy him with 30 of these tickets, right? And it's like a chip. And I'm like, okay, what is that? And you can't mouse over it to find out what it is. It's just an icon. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know what that icon is. And then I'm like, okay, is it in the game FAQ? No. Is it explained anywhere in one of the tutorials? Not quite. Let me go to the website. Is it there? No. Okay, all right. It's not in the game anywhere. It doesn't label what that thing is, right? And you use it to buy a couple of other things that are events as well. I'm like, what could this currency be? Because the game currency has Zenny, and then there's other like rainbow tokens that are used for other stuff. But there's so many different types of currency, right? And so I'm like, okay, let me go to the wiki. No. Let me go to Reddit. Is there anyone talking about this? And it's like, okay, no. There are things called like elemental metals, I think, but I don't think that's what these are either. And like, no one is actively discussing what this type of currency is that you need for these special unlocks, right? And I'm like, this is incredible. Like, the obfuscation is like a wall to the content. And every place that you select a character, there's always a like, there's a little button that's like, how do I get them? You know, and it'll be like, you can sell, use, or like acquisition requirements, and you click on that, and then it'll show you, oh, either beat this stage or buy it off the shop, and then in the shop you use this currency. But like, it doesn't tell you how to get it. So
it's so, I'm listening to you describe this, and what I'm hearing is a wide variety of seasonal currencies that exist for two reasons. One, to obfuscate the real cost of literally anything by burying it so deep via 10 currencies that you can never figure out how much anything costs. And two, if you do want these things, you have to sit there and spend your attention on figuring it out instead of being able to watch 10 new girl dinner videos.
Sure, exactly. You know, and so like the way I eventually was able to intuit it was because I was just like, let me go back to like threads where people were discussing these like collab events and like what goes on and so on. And people are basically in there. Someone made a reference to like, should I spend my collab tickets on this? And in that one thing, I was like, collab tickets. Okay, there is is that the thing? Is that the specific type of, and that word is never used anywhere, right? Or whatever. And like, yeah, and like that's kind of it. Or no, not a collab, because those were removed. Event tickets, I think, or something. And it's like, yes. So it turns out that like later on, if you do enough events and you level up the main thing, eventually they introduce a brand new currency to you when you get further enough into the game. But until then, it's never even mentioned. But it just shows you that there's a thing here and it's locked. And you're like, oh my God, man, I loathe everything about how this entire genre exists
Woolie,
today. And I hate
think
the fact
about
that
how much extra dopamine you could have in your head right now.
Like the fact
if you had spent the time, instead of explaining this to me, you would instead just sat there and played one round of Vampire Survivors. Your head would be full of chemicals. You would be full of chemicals.
It fucking, the most frustrating aspect is like that, and I know this is not every game, but for the worst of the gacha shit, where especially for stuff that you care about or whatever, if it's relating to a brand, where, you know, like in this case, like the game when the waifu pops up and goes, hey, do you have memories of like playing Mega Man X until it was too late and at 8 p.m. you had to go to bed because it was a school night? Those memories are all lost in the digital world, and you have to go save them because they're being corrupted by irregular data, and like it's all that stuff, and you know, it's kind of like, yeah, I do remember having fun with Mega Man actually, and like if you took all that, like, you know, gacha shit we talk about, and even the little tingles of the loot box theme and the Vampire Survivors and all that stuff, if you took that all out, I was hoping that what was left would still be something vaguely resembling a Mega Man X game, you know? And it does, but the power levels and pacing and genericization, if that's a word, of like the character you play as in order to make everyone playable just kills things that I didn't even necessarily know that I was gonna lack. Because I never like when Axel showed up, I was like, oh, well, he has a different aiming style, and okay, I guess he can aim in all directions. If they design the game around that, that could be fine. But Mega Man's here and Zero's there, and they play like they do, and that's he's a new character, whatever. But it wasn't like now X and Zero are forced to play like Axel at the same time, and the whole thing is changing what they were.
I think the most depressing thing about this whole thing is that as I'm hearing you describe, like hoping that there'd be like a good core deep down, is that my brain goes, well, if it had a good core deep down and the monetization wasn't too crazy, then you wouldn't be playing the offline version that they fucking put out to recoup costs after they took down the online version. It would just be the online version because it would be good enough to actually pull people in and keep them spending money without having to make a fucking offline version.
Not to mention that there was an online version that was a Steam game that was even lazier about a lot of that stuff. And apparently, from reading angry Reddit posts, there was a refund for unspent currency, but there was no refund for spent currency. So anything that you progressed and unlocked on your profile was just lost.
That's funny.
So I just so I kind of wonder. I'm like, when I see these like the Hoyo stuff that I seem like, oh, look at that Zenless Zone Zero in this super pretty animation, and here's the Genshin Impact Judgment Cut end, and here is the character that looks like a thing doing a really wild animation. Like, if you took all of the gacha mechanics and like dopamine fucking hooks out of that shit, is there a video game in there that's like an action game that's really fun and would be recognizable as a simple but cool?
Yeah, the Hoyo games are like that.
Okay.
It's like that's the danger, is that deep down underneath them they're like fun, like RPGs or fun action games.
I hope so, because it feels like you strip it naked to reveal that, like, oh, it was all about the shiny graphic when you click on X Dive Zero and you see that he has wings that are glowing and your teenage brain is like, oh, the Buster is so cool now, and and it's floating and it's doing that little flash animation thing where it keeps looping because this is a cell phone game, like it feels like it's like, right, it's all in that little moment right there, like a shiny card out of your wrapping paper, and it's not in how does the dash, jump, shoot, charge, release feel. Because it's a Mega Man game, and when I dash jump, I want the shadows behind me, and then when I kick off the wall, I want the shadows to follow me as I'm charging, and I release right before I come back onto the platform. Can I do that? And the answer is no, because it's much more stilted, because the gameplay part of it feels less like the Mega Man you kind of remember, especially the ones that were really smooth. Fuck, man. That's the thing. Pull me in with that,
No.
Yeah.
No, it's the guy opening up his fucking sketchy jacket going, hey, do you kids like Mega Man?
Yeah. So anyway, and then there's like, and then you scroll through the things. It's like, hey, but look, like if you get to stage like 17.5, you can unlock Magma Dragoon. Remember Magma Dragoon? Wasn't he awesome?
Oh,
Magma
man,
Dragoon
I remember Magma Dragoon. Oh, he did an uppercut.
Sure
That's crazy.
In fact, yeah,
wow.
He's one of the few playable bosses because we know you want him, and we know you want fucking, you want the ability to do your Shoryuken. You want your Hadoken. Here's your Light doing the same thing. Here's your fucking Storm Eagle. You know what I mean? Like, we know which ones you love. So... Yeah. It's anyway. Look, that was. I feel like the latest chapter of like, I'm checking out something new and trying to see if like the gameplay can stand or pull me in aside from the hand waving Jedi mind tricks you're trying to do to me, and I talked about Fate a little bit where it's like, okay, yeah. It's Strikers. It's not. It's less than Muso, but if you are Muso, then you're down with this. Okay, that's fine. But I always like. I kind of want to hope that you have a good game and then you put a bunch of bullshit mechanics into it, and if you took them out, you could salvage it. Especially when they added things like the ability to, connect an Xbox controller to your phone and play a normal game. So when I played World of Demons, the platinum game with all the yokai in it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. There's fun dodging and slashing and shit. Or, like I kind of I'm like, this is a fun game, and playing it with a controller, I can get past that like gachification wall that disgusts me when I see it. You know,
I have to say, despite your like litany of issues here, which seem extremely justified, at the end of the day, like it still got you. In that this is the most stacked year of games like in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And because it has Mega Man in it, you played some fucking offline Gacha knockoff.
So the funny part is I didn't grab the original, right? Like when it was it up and doing its thing and selling its points. But when they ported it to an offline version and said, hey, we took out all the extra currency shit, now you can just play a game and unlock it normally.
Right. So like your like limit is like a lot stronger than most people, but like literally just slapping Mega Man on what sounds like a piece of shit was enough to get you to go, yeah, I like Mega Man. I'll look at it.
If the way the gameplay felt didn't have those issues, if when I grabbed, each of those respective characters, they actually felt like unique characters that...
Sure, but Woolie, if this was the exact same game, but it was fucking... Rock Robot 25 extra edition, you would never give it a second look ever.
Well, I mean, you say that, but I also did just grab a fucking Fate game and take a look at it, right?
That's true. But Fate is also a big, gigantic, mega super property.
Yeah, but
like, do you own 30XX on Steam?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Okay, have you played it?
I did play 30XX, and I played more of 20XX. But this was a point of curiosity, and then it was one that I remember making a bookmark in my head about, especially. Yeah. And then you see the fucking Dante and Virgil thing, and you're like, oh, okay, you'll pull me in with some of that as well.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of what's it called? Fucking what is it called? Something of Combat, Devil May Cry, Combat.
Pinnacle of Combat.
Pinnacle of Combat?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have given that game a fucking glance. I wouldn't have moved my eyes 1 millimeter if it didn't have Nero in it.
No, but then they added PvP, and then Itsuno said, I am overseeing this game carefully. And it's like, okay. They're the DMC mobile game. Yeah. So that's exactly it, right? I just no, and I mean, if you want to fucking like if I'm examining every aspect of my curiosity here, part of this is like, hey, I'm checking out new things I'm curious about. I'm also down to bring up on the podcast to discuss what my, you know what I mean? Like this is
there's that. Hey man, what if I put my dick in this? Would it be weird enough to talk about on the podcast?
Yeah,
let's find out.
And then there's also the aspect of like me knowing that with any of these like new Fate, be it Grand Blue or any of these like new franchises where I'm just kind of like looking at it from the outside, if they ever were like to probably drop like a Hoyo, like here's just a normal Hoyo game without any of the gacha shit, and it's kind of just like whatever, like a straight character action game or some shit, I might bump that up in my curiosity playlist, and I might like jump into that a little sooner just to see like, oh, how does this feel? How does it play? Because I'm super duper interested in like whether the mechanics hold up despite all the fucking glitz and glam. So yeah. Anyway,
this whole part of the discussion reminds me of a few days ago, maybe 5 or 6 days ago. I think it was after last week's podcast. Somebody added both of us on X.com with a trailer of Spawn in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And it was at Woolie Wolves and at Pat Stairs at, holy shit, guys, look! And it's like, I don't even like Spawn. Why the fuck would you fucking why would I give a shit?
I like Spawn, but that's a hilarious fucking tie-in. More than that was fucking Helsing in Call of Duty, right?
so
Or
bad.
Alucard is just weirdly got this. He looks like someone wearing one of those anime furry outfits where it's not a furry, but it's like it's a full costume with the anime head that's too big, and it looks like someone's wearing an Alucard mascot outfit. It's terrifying.
I know
and then,
exactly what you mean.
And and then he's spinning the guns and doing these little like elaborate executions, like shooting the person in the head on the ground. And
dude,
stuff.
all of the guest people in Call of Duty look like terrible. They look terrible.
It looks like an Alucard Kigurumi, and it's like Alucard doesn't behave this way. He doesn't like fucking do these elaborate pop, I shot you, oh now you're dead, and then sneak away like Sneak King, you know? Like, it's so fucking like, what is this tie-in? And like, why doesn't an expensive ass franchise have someone to just look at the character tie-in and go like, oh yeah, you need to like actually animate him and move him and make him do things that are faithful to the character? Like, this is crazy, you know?
But Fortnite, oh man.
Yeah, it's
Fortnite got Goku in there.
Sure. Does Goku look, sound, and act like Goku in Fortnite?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, he does.
You know, and when it's not faithful, it's only because they're like, no, we actually made Chun-Li's ass bigger.
Listen, Goku in Fortnite is the most accurate portrayal of Goku I have personally encountered since that night a couple of years ago when me and my buddies were up too late on Discord watching live videos of Goku breaking into your house ASMR. Have you heard Goku breaks into your house ASMR?
I have not.
It's just like increasingly loud knocking on your door noises with the sound clip of "Hey, it's me, Goku." Getting closer. It's way funnier when it's 4 a.m. and you're up too late.
I have seen Naruto grabbing Sakura, dumping her in the dumpster, turning around and posing with Hinata, putting her right where she belongs for a selfie
that's good.
pose.
I like that.
So, you know, Fortnite's out there. Anyways, that's it. You know, I definitely feel like, this is, if anything, a good excuse to be like, yo, go check out 30XTX, go check out 20XTX, right? Those are some fun ways you can play something resembling, aggressively resembling Mega Man X in co-op, even in multiplayer. Although it does zoom the screen out a bit too far for my liking in some instances. Yeah, all right.
So do you know when a thought connects to another thought, and you just get in the cascade of stupid shit in your mind, and your mind just runs away with it? Hey, if you guys want to, if folks at home want to find out what I'm laughing at, I hope you were part of the movement at the time. But you can go watch a YouTube video called Fighting Gold, but you're playing it louder so that you don't hear your parents fighting in the background. And it's just like the music keeps getting louder and louder, and mom and dad are clearly getting divorced in the back.
Fighting Gold! You bitch! They ruined my life!
Oh my god, dude. It's
yeah. That is good. That is good. There's a couple of those.
The creativity of people just grabbing one bit and like, let's see how many remixes we can make of this. Every possible variation that's just the exact same thing with a different title. I saw a video somebody posted on the subreddit yesterday, which was Mortal Kombat 9 fatalities, where it skips to the next one when I die or get a boner. And it just skips at completely random periods. Like Sub-Zero grabs your throat and it just skips to the next one.
Oh, god damn it. Yeah.